Good afternoon, my fellow Tottenham fans, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy, Big Dave. Hopefully, you're all keeping well. Only 2 days until we go and storm the castle. But we are here to find out how our loan players are getting on at their temporary clubs for the season. It's been a while since I've done this due to maybe a bit of a busy schedule. But here we are, back again, updating you. So let's get straight into it. And we will start with my boy, Ashley Phillips. Ashley Phillips completed 90 minutes and kept the clean sheet on the right side of a back three as Plymouth gained the much-needed 3 points against Rodon United on Friday night as they battled to avoid relegation from the Championship. It was a night where Phillips and the whole Plymouth backline did not really have too much to do against a lacklustre Rodon side who were relegated off the back of that defeat. On the night, Phillips was the most foul player, completing 71% of his passes, 50 touches, 4 passes into the final third, 1 tackle, 3 clearances and 3 interceptions, and won 8 out of his 14 duels. Here is the verdict from Plymouth live player ratings on his performance. They gave Phillips a match rating of 7, saying, "Such was Rotherham's lacklustre attacking play that Phillips and his defensive colleagues were not overstretched in dealing with any danger." And he was one of 4 players up for the nomination for Plymouth's Man of the Match award after the game, and that all comes off the back of a Man of the Match performance the week before. Phillips was also back in action on Tuesday night, playing 74 minutes on the right side of a back three. Now this time he didn't have the best of games before being substituted as Plymouth picked up a vital point in the relegation battle as they drew 1-1 with QPR. Phillips actually had a decent first half, but the second half QPR's left winger, I believe his name is Chair, was gaining influence in the game, and it started all from a sort of slip from Ashley Phillips in possession, which allowed a sight of goal. And it was Phillips who lost his man from the corner and was beaten in the air that led to QPR's goal and was taken off immediately after. On the night, Phillips made 5 clearances, 2 interceptions, 3 tackles, won 8 of his 13 duels with an 86% pass accuracy. And here's the verdict from Plymouth live player ratings on his performance. They gave Phillips a match rating of 6, saying the 18-year-old was beaten to the ball from an Ilias Chair corner as Jimmy Dunn got in the header, which was parried away by Michael Cooper, only for Lyndon Dykes to hook the ball back, and eventually Sam Phil got the decisive touch. Phillips was then replaced before play restarted. Now, not the best of night for Phillips on Tuesday night, but he is in the middle of a relegation battle and he is starting every game and being tested defensively, which will benefit him massively on his return to Tottenham Hotspur. Alfie Devine, who's also at Plymouth, was suspended for the game after receiving his first red card of his senior career against Bristol City, which meant he was suspended for the win over Rotherham. Some Plymouth fans would say that sending off was the one that cost Ian Foster his job, as he was sacked after that game. Plymouth are now being managed by their sporting director, and Devine was on the bench Tuesday night versus QPR, but didn't get any minutes. Devine linking up with his former manager Ian Foster at Plymouth seemed to be the perfect marriage for Devine to kick on with his career. However, it has quickly turned into a nightmare, and I would suggest maybe he's harmed his chances of breaking into the Tottenham team on his return to Hotspur away. So I would say he'll probably end up being shipped back out on loan next season. Now, moving on to my fellow countryman, Josh Keeley, who played 90 minutes and conceded 2 goals as his blushes were spared as Parrott fought back to earn a 2-2 draw against Maidenhead at the weekend. Keeley was restored to the lineup after being away on Ireland under-21 duty, and it was a performance to forget. On the 8th minute, Keeley had a howler as Maidenhead went ahead. Keeley was caught off his line. It was just a long ball down the channel, curling in towards Keeley. He misjudged the flight of the ball and was beat to the ball by the on-rushing striker who turned Keeley. His shot was blocked, and the ball fell to the Maidenhead winger, who sent it home. On this one, Keeley just misjudged the flight of the ball and was perhaps eager where he could have been better, staying on his line, maybe coming out, closing down the angle. And something he needs to learn from, as it's not the first time this season he has misjudged a ball in behind that defensive line. For Maidenhead's second goal, there was nothing Keeley could have done. It was a 2-on-1 situation, FIFA settings, when they rolled it across the goal line for them to tap home. Keeley did go on to have a good second half and made a key save when Barnett were 2-0 down and showed maturity, being able to put that mistake behind him and move on, as he still had a job to do. Josh Keeley was also back in action for Barnett on Tuesday night, playing 90 minutes, picking up the Man of the Match award and making some crucial saves as they drew 1-1 at home to Bromley. This was a big game for Keeley and Barnett, as Barnett and Bromley are both second and third in their bid for promotion from the National National League, and Keeley needed to perform here off the back of his mistake at the weekend, and boy did he deliver. As you can see here on the right side of the image, Keeley was called into actually regularly throughout the game. The first save Keeley had to make in the second minute, which was a huge save. The Bromley striker was bearing down on goal, and Keeley held his nerve and came off his line at the right time to close down the angle and make the save. The second save Keeley had to make was a brilliant one-on-one save. You would have put your mortgage on the Bromley striker to bury it. But again, Josh Keeley came off his goal line at the right time to close it down the angle and make a brilliant save. Keeley was called into action for a third time. It was a cross almost floated all the way into the back of the net, but Josh Keeley rose up to tip it over the bar. Keeley was then called into action for the fourth time, and this time was the Bromley winger bearing down on goal, and from 8 yards out tried to dispatch it past Keeley, who held his nerve and got down well to make the save with his feet. And Keeley was eventually beaten by a low drive into the bottom corner from the edge of his box, and there was not a lot he could do with this one. He was at full stretch on the dive. It was a really good finish. And here's what Barnet manager Dean Brennan had to say on Keeley's performance after the game, as he came in for a lot of praise. Keeley was excellent. He made 4 really good saves. His kicking was outstanding like it always is, and he showed good composure when having to deal with a hospital pass. He was outstanding today. That's his best performance for us this season. On to the next game, and hopefully he can keep up them standards. And after the game, many Barnet fans came to the praise of Josh Keeley on social media, which was good to see. A mixed week from Keeley, who went from 0 to hero. Now, Mathew Craig at Doncaster Rovers, and Mathew Craig played the full 90 minutes in the centre of midfield as Doncaster beat Morecambe 3-0 at the weekend as they make a late bid for the promotion playoffs. Craig had a good display in midfield, demonstrating his work rate and his passing range with an 84% pass accuracy, completing 4 of his 5 long balls, making 1 clearance, 1 block, 1 interception and 4 tackles, and receiving 1 yellow card, pulling down a counter-attack. Craig also played 85 minutes in the centre of midfield last night in Doncaster's 2-1 win over Walsall. This was a difficult game for Craig and Doncaster, who struggled for possession in the first half. Here was the assessment of Doncaster Free Press, who gave Craig a match rating of 7 and said, recovered after a shaky start as he started to display his range of passing and calmness on the ball. Now, it's been a good week for Craig on his loan spell, who has impressed and is developing nicely under his fellow countryman, Grant McCann. And since he's come to Doncaster, Doncaster have won 7 games on the bounce. And like I said, making a late push for the playoff spot. So I'm absolutely rooting for Craig in that. On to my fellow countryman, Troy Parrott, and it's not going very well for him at the minute. He remains sidelined with a quad issue, and he's now missed the last 5 games. But there were reports over the last week linking him with a move to the Bundesliga this summer. A low move that started with so much promise has faded out yet again because of injury. That's 2 big injuries he's had this season, and it seems to be the case every single season now. And it's really starting to hurt his development, and sadly, I think he will be sold this summer. Going over to Spain now to catch up with Alejo. Veliz, no game for Sevilla last weekend, but Veliz has received no minutes for the last 3 games. A loan spell that has not worked out in our favour, and you'd be left wondering if he would have been best left served at Tottenham, still making them appearances off the bench, but also working day in, day out with the players that he's trying to force his way into with. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Moving on to the Welsh, Maldini and Joe Rodon played the full 90 minutes and was at fault for a calamitous winner as Leeds were defeated for the first time in 2024 in their 2-1 defeat to Coventry at the weekend. Rodon had a disaster, unaware of Hadji running in behind him, and failed to track his run and allowed him to score Coventry's winner. Here was the assessment of Leeds Live, who handed Rodon a rating of 7, saying he has to take his share of the blame in a bizarre, embarrassing second goal for Hadji Wright. Aside from that, he was superb and again mopped up so much danger which came United's way, especially in the first half. Rodon also played 90 minutes on Tuesday night and kept a clean sheet as Leeds drew 0-0 with Sunderland. Here was the assessment of Leeds Live, who gave Rodon a rating of 6, saying, uncharacteristically loose with his passing after the break. He was understandably probably trying to break Leeds out of the slow, predictable routine they had been in, but he kept giving the ball away and ending Leeds' moves before they had even started. Joe Rodon is having an absolute fine season at Leeds so far this season. I believe played 40-odd games so far this season, and he's been absolutely phenomenal at the heart of Leeds' promotion push, and definitely will recoup some money for him this summer. Moving on to Japhet Tanganga, who played 89 minutes at centre-back in a back 4 in Millwall's 1-0 defeat to Huddersfield on Saturday. It was a game where Huddersfield dominated and tested Millwall's backline on a regular basis. Tanganga did have a scary moment that led to Huddersfield's first chance when he failed to deal with a header properly, but did get back to make a recovering block. On the day, Tanganga defended pretty well, dealing with everything that came his way, but the goal that Huddersfield scored started with Tanganga being climbed all over from a set piece at the back post, and he really should have been stronger and dealt with it better. On the day, Tanganga made one key pass, 5 clearances, 2 blocks, 2 interceptions, and won 2 of his 5 duels. Tanganga was also back in action on Tuesday night, playing 90 minutes and keeping a clean sheet against Leicester. Tanganga didn't have much to deal with down his side all night, making 1 clearance, 1 interception, 1 tackle, winning 2 of his 3 duels. And it was a huge result for Millwall on Tuesday night. Of course, relegation candidates beating promotion candidates, absolutely huge. After the first half of the season at Augsburg in Germany with no games, Tanganga has been played 13 games for Millwall so far, and it's good to see him getting regular game time. And that brings me on to Agent Reguilon. And guys, get down on your knees and bow down to this guy, whether you like him or not, because Agent Reguilon put in a man-of-the-match display and played 76 minutes and bagged 2 assists in Brentford's 3-3 draw with Aston Villa last weekend, of course, helping Tottenham move back into the top 4. For Phillips' first goal, if I'm being harsh, Reguilon probably has to do more to close down that cross. However, Reguilon made up for it and had a huge part to play in Brentford's fight back, making himself a consistent menace down that left-hand side. For Brentford's first goal, it was Reguilon's cross that led to chaos in the box before it was put home. For Brentford's second, it was a pinpoint cross by Reguilon straight into the onrushing Mbuemo, who tapped it home. And for Brentford's third goal, it was again Reguilon bombing down that left-hand side across for Visa to dispatch home as well. And it was a day where Reguilon's ability and the consistency of his crossing really stood out. And I would argue the perfect backup to Destiny Udogie next season, who offers that something a little bit different, who can go on the outside rather than playing inverted and whip them beautiful Beckham-like crosses in there. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. And then that brings me on to Jed Spence at Genoa. He came off the bench to play right wing back for the final 12 minutes to help Genoa hold on to their 2-1 lead over Hellas Verona on Saturday. That's now 9 appearances for Spence, more than what he got at Leeds in the first half of the season. And then on to Ndombele, who played sort of like a reserve game for Galatasaray in his beanie hat, believe it or not. So they rocked up to play a Turkish Cup final. I think they were playing, if I remember correctly, maybe Fenerbahce, who didn't want to play the final that day because they wanted time to be able to get their squad ready for the Europa League contest tonight. However, Turkish League didn't allow that, made them rock up. So they brought their under-19s team, fielded it, went 1-0 down, then pulled them off and said they're not playing the rest of the game. So what Galatasaray done then is pulled together all their players and put 2 teams out there to play in front of the crowd, you know, to maybe appease them and give them some sort of football. And you can see Tanguy Ndombele running around with his stupid bloody beanie. The guy just doesn't get it at all. But guys, that's it from the loan roundup from me this week. I'll be back again Monday with another one for you guys, letting you know how they got on with this weekend coming up. But it's a big game for us. It's time to get into match day mode as we go to storm the castle on Saturday. Make sure you stay tuned for all the pre-game content coming out your way. As always, come on, you Spurs. In the mighty hands we trust, we never stop.